What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Alicia and today I'm going to be answering the age-old question, can the iPad replace your laptop as a student? So all of the points that I'm giving in this video, please do take with a grain of salt because obviously it would depend on your own circumstances. So when deciding whether you want to purchase an iPad or a laptop, I think one of the main things you have to consider is what you're studying. So obviously if you are doing like a design course and you need Photoshop, or if you're doing like computer science and you need to code, then only having an iPad might not be that helpful because you need certain programs that won't actually run on the iPad. So it's really important you do your research and consider the different things that are in your course that maybe will require a laptop. So for me, a lot of my subjects are like anatomy, physiology, like all science-based subjects. So I don't necessarily need any special programs to run. I can technically do all of my work on an iPad, but there are certain limitations that I have to consider if I had to choose one device. So in this video, I'm gonna first outline the features of the iPad that I really like, and then the features of the laptop that I really like. And then at the end of this video, I'll come to a conclusion and determine whether if you were to purchase one, which one would be better.
Where is my
points? So I'm gonna start with the iPad. The first thing is note-taking. The fact that you can have an Apple Pencil and write straight on the screen as if you would like on paper. You can use apps like GoodNotes and Notability, which you would only sort of gain the benefit of those apps on the iPad because you can write your notes and it organizes all your files perfectly into notebooks, into folders. It's really easy to import PDFs straight from your uni website, and that way everything is sort of stored into this one app that it makes it easy to find things, and it's kind of like a mini binder is the best way I would describe it. With the note taking, you can obviously do it on your laptop, but I just think first of all, being able to draw diagrams yourself can really help you to learn and memorize things. And at the same time, there's just so many features on the iPad. Like when you draw, you can use highlighters, you can circle things, you can annotate way easier on the iPad compared to the laptop, which is why I consider the note-taking a benefit that you can really only gain from the iPad. The second thing that I think stands out with the iPad is if you need to review documents. So the iPad's super easy. You can also import PDFs into GoodNotes or Notability, and you can annotate to your heart's content all over the document. You can highlight things. Something that I found really helpful as well is like if you need to sign documents, you can just import it into your iPad and like sign it and then send it back off without having to go through the process of like printing and scanning and then sending it off digitally. And say for example, if you have a digital textbook, sometimes you can annotate all over that and different readings and stuff, and it's all again organized into that little binder system on GoodNotes or Notability. The last thing that is going for the iPad in terms of using it as a single device is that a lot of the apps you get on your laptop you can still get on your iPads. So like recently they came out with the new iPad Pro, and personally from looking at it, I don't have it so I wouldn't know, but like it seems as though with the keyboard and the trackpad on the new keyboard, as well as all the capability of the iPad, you can technically do most things that like a general user would do on their laptop on the iPad. Say for example, you need to use Safari, like the view of Safari is pretty much the same as you would view it on your laptop. So you wouldn't really be losing out in that perspective. And then also like if you need to access Google Docs, Excel, PowerPoint, all that stuff you can still do on your iPad. It just may take some getting used to navigate. And then in terms of studying, like on Notion and Anki, all of those are still available on your iPad. So Notion I do sometimes use on my iPad, and I'll just whip out my keyboard and like write my active recall flashcards there because the function is still pretty much the same. In terms of Anki, using the iPad, you're kind of more limited when you're creating the flashcards. Like I'm not really sure how you would do the image occlusion, like importing the images, including the words and stuff on your iPad. But if you're reviewing the flashcards and stuff, then you can still do all of that on your iPad. So to summarize those points, with the iPad, you can have really efficient note-taking, really easy to organize your files all into one location. I think it's a lot better to review documents like PDFs, and you can generally get most of the apps that students use on your laptop on the iPad. So those are the things that stand out, or what I mainly use the iPad for. But then keep in mind, I think with the iPad, if you're going to use that as a single device, you really need to invest as well into the keyboard and the Apple Pencil, because the iPad alone without those those accessories, I don't think would fully support the entire learning process. So with my current iPad, it doesn't have a trackpad on the keyboard, so I think that's also a limiting factor from my point of view. But I know the new Magic Keyboard, or whatever it's called, has a trackpad and you don't really have to use your finger as much to tap things. Personally, I haven't tried it, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. But yeah, like if you were to write essays and only have an iPad, you would kind of need a keyboard. And then to take notes by hand, you also need the Apple Pencil. So you also have to consider that, because I know those accessories can add a lot to the cost of actually owning an iPad. Okay, so now on to the laptop. So the laptop that I use is the MacBook Pro 13-inch. I have used it for quite a while. Like my school made me use a MacBook throughout high school, so I'm pretty used to how it functions and how it has helped me as a student. The first thing I would say about the laptop is that it's just a lot easier to manipulate things and make the laptop do what you want it to do. With the iPad, I think while it's cool that you can like touch the screen and like swipe, like we're very used to just like typing things and using a trackpad compared to having to lift your arm and like move things around, and like it's easier to control with a trackpad because like that's how it's designed to work. Whereas the iPad's more like a mobile device where if you want the same functionality as a laptop, you can do it nowadays with like the technology. It's just not the same experience. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'll just give you some examples. The main example I can think of is like when I'm writing essays or writing reports, formatting on Word document is like a tedious task in the first place, but I think doing it on the laptop is so much easier because you can control the margins, you can move text around, change the size, just like with the trackpad. Whereas if you do it with the iPad, like moving text boxes around and just like having to click each time and like highlight the text you want to select is just like so hard to do on the iPad. You can do it, but like I feel like it would just get frustrating after a while. What I do nowadays is if I'm having like reports to write and assignments to write, I usually just stick to my laptop because it's a lot faster and I feel like I'm being more productive if I use my laptop compared to doing it on the iPad. And then also I'm just used to like the size of the keyboard and the trackpad on the laptop. And sort of like continuing on with that point, with the laptop you can use keyboard shortcuts and you can also multitask a lot easier. Like on the iPad, I know you can split the screen and like drag it. I always spend like 5 minutes trying to get it in the right size.
Eternity later.
I have a smaller iPad as well, so it's not as easy to view things like multitasking. Whereas like on a laptop, you can open multiple windows. You can have like more than 2 applications open at a time. And then you can also have like the different desktops on your laptop. So when you like swipe, I don't know what it's called, but like when you swipe across Control Center? No, I don't know what it's called, but like when you have the different windows and then you can like use your 3 fingers to like swipe across, that function on the laptop has really helped me as a student. If I have like a PowerPoint open on one side, then I have Notion on one, and then I have like Excel another. I don't know, this is just an example. So that function on the laptop is really helpful if you're trying to multitask and have multiple apps open at the same time. And then obviously there's the point where certain apps will only run on the laptop. Maybe if you need to use Illustrator, like some sort of coding program, which I needed to use first year of university, like in a biology subject. Like I never thought I would have had to use that, but if I didn't have the laptop, then I wouldn't have actually been able to run that program. I think if you were in the situation where you can get access to a desktop computer that has those apps, like maybe the uni ones or just like at your local library, then you can just use your iPad because like those sort of scenarios would be like not as frequent. But again, it's just about convenience. Like if you had to have one device that could do all of that, then the laptop's the way to go, because like nowadays, who even knows, like remember back to the beginning of this year where we were all like put in lockdown and like you didn't have access to the library or to the university. You wouldn't have been able to go to the computers there if you just had an iPad. From a convenience perspective and like a safety worst case scenario perspective, I think if you were just to choose one, then you'd be better off with the laptop in those circumstances. There's also different functionalities on the laptop you want to consider, like if you need to print things like documents. Like I know if you use an iPad, you kind of want to go paperless, but there are some circumstances where you might need to print things, like if it's a past paper, if it's a worksheet you need to hand in for class, or I don't know, if you want to have a hard copy of your report or something. It's just a lot easier to format things on the laptop and then print it straight from there onto your printer. Yeah. So with the apps as well, like a lot of the things like Excel, Word document, PowerPoint, you can still access on your iPad, but they're made to be desktop applications. So the mobile version that you would get on your iPad is adapted obviously, so it's not going to be as effective and efficient as the one on your laptop. So like I know Excel spreadsheet, like that would be so hard to view on your laptop, having to like and like all the keyboard shortcuts you need to do on Excel to get all those different functions and like use the program to its full capabilities. The last point I have about the laptop, which I think is beneficial, is the fact that outside of class you might have other things that you need to do on your laptop. So for me, for example, editing these videos, I probably wouldn't be able to do it on my iPad, or if I did, it would just be super hard because like importing all the footage, and then there's just a storage issue with the iPad, whereas it's easier to plug in like external hard drives into my laptop and do all the editing there. So consider things outside of school which you might also use your laptop for. If like the only other thing you do is outside is like watching Netflix or I don't know, scrolling through Instagram or something, then you probably don't need a laptop because like Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff works better on your iPad anyway. So consider both things, like what you use it for at uni or school, and then also what you use it outside, because you ultimately want a device that can do both if you were just going to choose one. So to summarize the points for the laptop, so firstly, I think the laptop just makes things easier and much more efficient to do things. Apps like Excel, Photoshop, Anki, all of that is faster to do on the laptop. My second thing is multitasking on your laptop is a lot easier as well. So if you want to have multiple windows open and open more than 2 applications, then you want to do that on your laptop. And then the third point is you could probably do a lot more on your laptop for things outside of uni or school. So consider your hobbies and like what you're actually using the device for. With my points, I think you can pretty much gauge that it really depends on your situation and how you're using the device as a student. There's not a one-size-fits-all answer to whether the iPad can replace your laptop. I think if you're a student who doesn't need those applications that you can only get on a laptop, then the iPad could probably replace everything that you want to do for school. But it's just a matter of like whether you think it's easier to type on a computer or whether you're willing to like learn how to manipulate and control all the apps on the iPad. And with that, I'm talking about if you have the iPad with the keyboard and the Apple Pencil, which I know is a lot of added cost. Personally, I would say the iPad has really enhanced my learning experience, and I think if we were in an ideal situation, having an iPad and a laptop to get in conjunction is the best case scenario, but I know that's kind of naive to say. If you had to choose one, really consider your circumstances. Like, are you looking for something just to write notes and to type your essays on? Because you can do all of that on the iPad. If you're looking for a way to be more productive and use all sorts of different applications, then you might want to go for the laptop. In my opinion, I think if you were just to choose one device as a student, the MacBook still at the moment kind of stands out as an all-in-one device that you can do all the stuff you want to as a student. And obviously you don't get that feeling of like writing down notes on paper, but there's again still paper you can use and scan it in, so you're not fully limited. It just might be something you have to compromise. But like overall, for the price and the function, I think you would benefit more from getting a laptop. Yeah, so those are all my points. So if you have more questions or maybe you have a different perspective on it, please leave it all down in the comments below, because I would love to hear it. I'm opening to hearing your perspective and your opinion. Maybe you'll change my mind and maybe the iPad is the better all-in-one device. So leave it all in the comments below and I'll go through them. And yeah, so if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this, then please subscribe to my channel down below. And also turn on the notification bell to be notified when I post next. And with that being said, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!